It's been over 20 years now since I joined the world of employment, and I guess 15 years. Yeah, about 15 years since I graduated from university and entered into the corporate world. And over the course of those last 15 years particularly, I've made a lot of mistakes when it comes to my career choices, and I've learned a lot of lessons. And in today's video, what I'm going to do is share with you 12 of those career mistakes that I made. So depending on where you are now on that career journey, whether you're starting out, whether you're in the middle, whether you want to pivot, there's going to be lessons that you can take away from my journey, which can help you on your journey too. So I'd say the first biggest mistake I made was staying in the same job for over a decade, or just shy of a decade, should I say. I was in my first graduate job for 10 years after finishing university, and that was definitely a huge mistake, because doing that really limited my earning potentials. Yes, I got promotions while I was there, but by no means did I make as much money as I would have made if I had switched employers. There's so much research that has gone into salary rises, and it's so evident that you earn a lot more money moving between companies than you do moving up within the organization. So just by me staying there for 10 years, I lost out on making a lot more money than I would have done if I had jumped around and switched companies. Your loyalty does not pay you. These companies are not going to reward you for being loyal and staying there for a long stretch of time. So it's best to switch where you can and always put yourself first. I mean, I was with my company for nearly a decade, like I said, and when it came time to redundancies, they didn't think twice about letting me go. So much for loyalty. Another big mistake I made was not negotiating my salary. I remember when I first got my graduate job many years ago, and I was just so happy to finally be employed. I remember graduating at a time of the global recession, so trying to find a graduate job with limited experience was so hard to do. I must have gone for about 12 to 14 jobs, and I remember one time even getting a job and having that offer withdrawn. It was just such a disheartening time and such a stressful period. So when I finally got the opportunity to get the job with my company at the time, I didn't even consider negotiating my salary or asking for any more than the job was offering. I was just so happy and grateful to be employed, and just doing that alone meant I was leaving money on the table. I never negotiated when I joined, and I never negotiated throughout the 10 years that I was there. Another career mistake I made in my 20s is to never ask for a pay rise. Can you believe that within the 10 years I was at that employer, I never once asked for a pay rise, I never once requested more money, never negotiated more additional pay. I just kind of took those incremental inflation type pay rises every year, and that was about it. I even remember the first time I got one of those pay rises, I was so confused. I was thinking, why are you guys giving me extra money? I didn't understand all about inflation back then, and the fact that my money was losing its value over the years, so that's why they were giving us those incremental pay rises. I just thought, oh, they'll just be nice giving me this extra free money, not knowing that I had colleagues and peers that were negotiating extra money beyond that like 2-3% that they were giving us at that time. I was just happy to get that extra few £100s every month and didn't really complain or didn't even consider speaking to anybody about getting more money. And I think that whole mindset and notion of I'm just so happy to be here, and thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for giving me a seat at the table, and just being so grateful for just even having that job. I mean, yes, you should be grateful for having a job, don't get me wrong, but it shouldn't be overzealous to the point that, you know, you just feel like they're doing you a big favor. No, you're actually bringing something to the table too. You're of value too. Like, you deserve to be compensated for the value that you bring to the organization and for the work that you do. And I think it took me many years for me to come to that realization and understanding, because up until that point I just was, like I said, very happy to be there and happy to take what I was given, and never even considered the fact that I could ask for more or could like put forward a case as to why I should earn more for the job that I was doing. Another big career mistake that I made in my 20s was opting out of my workplace pension. I remember when I first got that graduate role, and the first month I got paid and I saw all these deductions, tax, national insurance, and then they were saying pension, and I was so upset, thinking this is too much money coming out of my pay every month. The salary that I'm getting, once you take off all these deductions, it feels like nothing. And I remember going straight to HR and being like, take me out of this pension thing, I don't want to pay into it, I want to have all my money. And the next month, I think it was, or the month after, I got my money back into my account, and I was so gassed, I was so happy, thinking yes, I got my money back. They tried to take my money, but no, I was smarter and I got my money back. Who's the fool in the end? It was me, because I thought I was doing myself a favor by getting that money back, not realizing I was missing out on the free money that my employer would have given me, because at that time when you pay in 3%, your employer then matches that 3%. So I was missing out on that free 3% for 10 years. So that's what, 12 months times 10 years. You could just imagine how much money that I missed out on, not to mention the fact that I wasn't even paying into that pension, so I missed out on that money plus the compound effect of that interest as well. So it just was a mess. Don't make that mistake that I made. When it comes to pension, don't opt out of it. Don't leave that free money on the table. Another career mistake that I made in my 20s, which is something that I still made even in my early 30s, was the inability to advocate for myself. I did not advocate for myself enough at work at all. Again, I guess it goes back to the point I made earlier about, you know, just being so happy to be there and just taking whatever they threw at me and not really advocating and speaking up for myself. So when things were done that I didn't like, being able to say and voice those concerns. And equally, if something went wrong and I was blamed for it, rather than just taking it on the chin and just accepting that, you know, it is what it is, I've been blamed for it, it's fine, don't worry, I'll just learn from this. Yes, obviously it's important to learn from your mistakes, but when it's not my mistake and somebody's now positioned it as though it's my mistake, why am I now just agreeing to it and taking the blame for somebody else's shortfall or someone else's mistake that they've made? So yeah, that took me a long time to get to that place where I was able to advocate for myself and speak up for myself. And if someone said something that I didn't agree with, or someone said something that wasn't true about me in the workplace, it took me a while to be able to find my voice and be able to speak out for myself. And so let that be an encouragement to you if you're in the workplace now. And it's so important to be your own biggest advocate, because in the workplace, as much as some people don't like to admit it, or some employers might not say it, in fact no one's going to say it, that this kind of workplace is a doggy dog place, but it is a doggy dog world at the end of the day, and everybody is out for their own interest, and people are going to paint themselves in the best picture and the best light that they can. You need to be wise to this and be aware of this and learn how to maneuver and navigate that system accordingly, because all these people at the workplace are not your best friends. Like, everybody is out to make themselves look good, and everybody's out to make the best impression, and if it means that they have to step on your neck to do it, a lot of people are going to do that. I mean, let me caveat by saying not every single employer is like that, and equally not every single person in the workplace is like that, but I can tell you, in my 15 years of working, I've seen a lot over the years, and yeah, a lot of people don't have your best interest at heart. So it's important for you to look out for yourself in the workplace. Do a great job, but don't allow anybody to undermine you, and always advocate and speak up for yourself. Another big career mistake that I made in my early 20s was not taking enough risk. So again, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I was in one of my workplaces for a decade. That is 10 good years. My prime years, in fact, my 20s, I dedicated to this one employer out of fear of change and out of being comfortable and being complacent. And I didn't take enough risk, because at that time in your early career years, those are the times for you to really trial and test different things. Like, you could work in one field and decide, actually I want to try something else. It's easier to make those shifts and make those movements when you're early in your career and you haven't done it for a long amount of time. But when you start going down that specialist route and you become an expert in a particular area, it becomes a lot harder for you to navigate and pivot and try something else. So I think in those early formative years, in those early years of your career, when you're still trying to establish what you want to do, if you're not totally certain on the path that you want to take, don't pigeonhole yourself into a particular role or into a particular organization. Take risks, move around, try new businesses, in fact. So outside of your 9 to 5, what are you doing with those hours? I wasted a lot of time in those early 20s before I had children, before I had responsibilities. Those were the best times for me to really make career moves that were risky and really step outside of my comfort zone. And instead, what was I doing back then? I was just being comfortable and complacent and just chilling. Obviously, go to work, do my 9 to 5, go home and not think about anything else, and I was just enjoying my life, and I wasn't really thinking about building something for myself outside of the 9 to 5. So definitely in your 20s, that's the best time to take risks, when you don't have responsibilities and you have that income from your job. You can pour that money into any side hustle that you want. This leads on nicely to the next career mistake that I made, and that was not having multiple streams of income. So back then, like I said, in my early 20s, all I did was work my 9 to 5. I came home and I chilled and I enjoyed my life, went out with friends, met up with my husband. I guess at that time we weren't married, but yeah, we used to hang out and just live life basically. Back then, I wasn't really thinking about what I wanted to do outside of the 9 to 5. I wasn't really thinking about what else I can do to generate income on the side outside of my 9 to 5. I was just reliant on that one source of income, and that for me was one of the biggest mistakes that I made in my 20s, and that's a mistake I tell young people to avoid in their 20s. In your 20s, when you have limited responsibilities, a lot of times you're living at home with your parents, so you don't have that financial burden of, you know, paying rent or paying mortgage and all of those outgoings. When you have that disposable income, invest it in yourself, invest it in learning a new skill, invest it in a business so that you can make additional money for yourself on the side and you're not reliant on just one source of income, because that's probably one of the biggest risks that you could have when it comes to your career, is just relying on that sole source of income. Because if that income stream dries up, you quickly go from one income to no income. Another career mistake I'd say I made in my early 20s was not intentionally networking. Networking back then was not a thing to me. I didn't even really know what it was or understand the value of it or the impact that it could have on my career prospects. Obviously now, fast forward to my mid to late 30s, I understand the value now of networking, and it's something that I wish I had started doing a lot sooner, because like they say, your network is your net worth, and I truly believe that that is true, because the amount of opportunities that have come through my network just through me starting this YouTube channel and starting my Instagram account is absolutely crazy. And these opportunities I wouldn't have had if it wasn't for my network and for the people that I've connected with. So stepping outside of your comfort zone and getting outside of your familiar surroundings and your familiar network of people and connecting with other people outside of your network is really going to help you when it comes to your career prospects and your earning potential. Another career mistake that I made in my early 20s was not addressing microaggressions in the workplace. Now, this isn't one I would say impacted me necessarily financially, but it definitely impacted me mentally over the years, and it's something that I'm still unpacking even till this day. And I think this point also ties into the point I made earlier about not advocating for yourself, not addressing microaggressions and allowing people to just get away with those little things. It eats away at you, because you end up having these internal conversations afterwards with these shoulda, coulda, wouldas. I wish I had said this and I wish I had said that, and you just feel that sense of injustice that the person got away with treating you in a certain way. And that's something that I definitely wouldn't do moving forward, and it's something I wish I didn't do in my early career. Like, if you're in a workplace and people are doing things and treating you in a way that you know is not right, and you can't put your finger on it but you just know it's not right, don't keep it to yourself. Speak up, advocate for yourself, speak to HR if you need to, speak to your line manager if you need to, like, get these things addressed, or speak to that person directly who's carrying out these microaggressions and bring it to their attention. Because sometimes these things are done absent-mindedly, like people don't realize how they're coming across or the impact that their words are having on you or how their words are making you feel. So it's important to speak up and let people know about these things in the workplace, because that way when you go to work you can perform and do your best work because you feel good in that environment. But when you feel like people are pulling you down and you feel that you can't speak up for yourself and you feel like nobody understands, it's going to impact your work performance and it's going to impact how you progress in that company anyway. So definitely, if you're in a workplace and you feel like people are treating you a certain way that's not right, that's unkind and unfair, speak up for yourself, speak to that person, speak to your manager, speak to HR, speak to anybody that you need to speak to so that it gets addressed, so that you're able to show up and perform at your best in your workplace. Another career mistake that I made in my 20s was not asserting my ideas and opinions in like team meeting settings. Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you the amount of times that I would be sitting in a meeting and I would be thinking of an idea or an answer to a question that somebody's posed to the group, and I'll just be thinking, maybe we should do that, or maybe we should do this, and I wouldn't say it. I'll just think it in my head, but I'll be too scared to voice it because of fear of judgment or what people are going to say, or whether people are going to think it's a bad idea or they're not really going to understand what I'm saying, and I just will keep it to myself and not say it. 9 out of 10 times, like within the next few minutes, somebody in the team says that exact idea that I was thinking, and obviously they're going to get the credit for it because I didn't speak up, and it used to frustrate the life out of me, but I would still end up doing the same thing over and over again and not believing in what I'm bringing to the table and what I'm about to say. And I would implore you not to make that mistake. Like, if you're in a workplace and you have ideas, you have suggestions, no idea is a bad idea, no suggestion is a rubbish suggestion. Don't let people make you feel that way, and you shouldn't feel that way. Be confident in what you have to bring to the table, be confident in your opinions and your ideas and your suggestions. If it's wrong, then it's wrong. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? Someone may laugh at you, so what? At least you've tried. But it's better to try and fail than never to try at all. Or worst case, like what used to happen to me, you don't try and somebody else says exactly the same thing that you were thinking and they get all the credit for it. So please, please, please do not make the same mistake that I made when it comes to asserting yourself in these meetings. Shine your light very bright in that workplace. Let people know when you've got great ideas. Let people know when you have great suggestions. Like, speak up, be loud and be proud of what you have to bring to the table and share it without fear of any judgment. And this leads on nicely to the next point that I have in terms of a career mistake I made, and that was not shouting about my successes and not shouting about the work that I did. Oh my days, I used to shy away from really tooting my own trumpet in the workplace. Like, I was always that person that would never speak up when I did a good job, and I would let management or whoever take the credit for the work that I did. I never really ever spoke up and was like, oh yeah, look at what I did, look at me. Like, that just never been my thing. But that's how you need to play this corporate game. Like, you need to be able to show and say what you've done and be able to toot your own trumpet so that other people can see what you're doing, and so that it can help you when it comes to climbing that corporate ladder. Because yeah, it's all about positioning and how you position yourself. And if you're not speaking up for yourself, best believe your colleagues, they're speaking up for themselves. And guess what? When it comes to promotion and when it comes to who should we give this bigger project to, they're going to give it to that person who has that track record, who's spoken up for themselves, who's advocated themselves, who positioned themselves as that person to go to for said project. So please, if you want to climb that corporate ladder and you really want to do well in that job that you're in, you're going to need to shout about what you're doing. Let people know what you've done, how you've done it, how you've contributed to your team's success. These kind of things also help when it comes to appraisals, when it comes to performance reviews, and when it comes to negotiating salaries. Being able to talk about what you've done and share your successes and share your wins is going to put you in a strong position when it comes to negotiating and getting more money. Another career mistake that I made in my 20s was not requesting feedback and not requesting peer evaluation. Like, this is something I shied away from. Like, I never used to ask for feedback on my work. Obviously, I'd get feedback. So if I give a piece of work to my manager to review, she'll review it and give me feedback on those kind of things. But the kind of feedback that I'm talking about is feedback in terms of how I'm coming across in the team meetings. What can I do to improve my performance? What can I do to advance myself so that I can position myself for the next promotion? Like, these are the kind of questions that I didn't ask my manager. I didn't ask for feedback, like what kind of things will make me a better manager. All these kind of things I didn't ask my manager, and in hindsight I definitely should have, because these things would have helped progress my career faster. So these are just some of the career mistakes that I've made over the last 15 plus years. Let me know in the comment section below if you can relate to any of these career mistakes, and let me know if there's any career mistakes that you've made that I didn't mention in this video, which will be helpful to other people watching this video. Share them in the comment section below and I definitely will read them. If you're interested in watching more financial education videos, you want to get better with money, better with budgeting, better with saving, and want to know how you can make your money work better for you, click this playlist here, because I've got more money motivation and inspiration for you.